There's a silence that sometimes settles between longtime lovers, one not born of anger or distance, but of quiet uncertainty, a hesitance, a fear of asking, do you still want me? Or is it still safe for us to be close like we once were? After 60, intimacy can begin to feel like unfamiliar territory. Bodies change, energy shifts, and the tender rhythm of connection, once effortless, can feel suddenly awkward, even fragile. But here's what so few dare to say aloud: the desire for closeness, for touch, for being seen, not just emotionally but physically, does not fade with age. In fact, it often deepens. Yet shame, myths, and outdated ideas can convince us that love's most intimate expression is behind us. Many seniors carry unspoken worries. Is it even healthy for me now? What if it hurts? What if I'm doing it wrong? Some fear judgment from doctors, or worse, from themselves. Others mourn the loss of spontaneity, believing passion has an expiration date. But what if that's not true? What if sex after 60 isn't the end of something, but the beginning of something wiser, richer, and more tender than ever before? In this video, we'll gently unpack what to embrace and what to avoid when it comes to sexuality in later life, guided not by embarrassment, but by science, compassion, and truth. Whether you're navigating this journey solo with a longtime partner or rediscovering yourself anew, you deserve joy, connection, and the peace of knowing that your needs are still valid and deeply human. Let's talk about it openly and without shame. Welcome, dear friends, to Comfort Corner, a place where the wisdom of age is honored, where questions that often go unspoken are met with warmth, and where every chapter of life is seen as worthy of love, care, and celebration. I'm Michael, your guide and companion on this journey through life after 60. Here on our channel, we talk about the things that matter deeply: emotional well-being, healthy aging, relationships, meaning, and yes, even intimacy. We believe that growing older doesn't mean growing invisible. It means growing deeper, more aware, more in tune with what truly matters. Today's topic is one many shy away from, but one we feel must be approached with courage and compassion: sexuality after 60. Because the truth is, you are still a whole person, still deserving of joy, of closeness, of touch. And yet, society often wraps intimacy in silence the moment wrinkles show up or medications change. Not here. At Comfort Corner, we speak gently but truthfully, so you never feel alone in your questions or your longing. So if you've ever wondered what's normal, what's healthy, or what you might need to shift in order to feel safe and joyful again in your most intimate moments, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. Before we begin, I'd love to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. If you find comfort in honest conversations, if these moments together help you feel less alone, please consider clicking that little bell so you don't miss future videos. And if something resonates today, I'd be truly grateful if you shared this with someone else who might need it. Let's walk into this topic together, with openness, courage, and kindness. There is a quiet heartbreak many older adults carry in silence, the feeling that their body has somehow betrayed them, that what once came naturally, desire, arousal, physical closeness, now feels awkward, foreign, or even unreachable. For many, these changes don't just affect the bedroom. They echo through the halls of self-worth, touching how we see ourselves in the mirror and how we believe we're seen by others. But the truth is, our bodies are not broken. They are evolving. Let's begin by acknowledging some of the most common, perfectly natural physical changes after 60. For women, the transition through menopause often brings reduced estrogen, leading to vaginal dryness, thinning tissue, and lowered libido. These shifts can make intimacy uncomfortable or even painful, yet they are not permanent sentences. They are signals. Signals that your body needs different care, not less love. For men, a gradual decline in testosterone, sometimes called andropause, can lead to slower arousal, softer erections, and a longer recovery time between moments of intimacy. Some men feel shame, a sense of lost virility. But this too is not failure. It is biology. It is aging, and it is deeply human. According to the National Institute on Aging, these changes are both expected and manageable. The key lies not in avoiding them, but in understanding them. The Mayo Clinic reminds us that with the right support, be it lubricants, medications, or therapy, intimacy can remain fulfilling, even transformative. But perhaps the more subtle change, the one we rarely speak of, is the emotional response. Many seniors feel grief for the body they once had. Some avoid mirrors. Some shrink from touch. The fear of being seen, truly seen, in a body that has softened or stiffened or slowed can be deeply painful. Yet, here's the quiet miracle. Intimacy after 60 doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It requires a willingness to meet yourself and your partner as you are today, not as you were 20 years ago. It invites you to trade performance for authenticity, urgency for tenderness. You are not less attractive because your body has changed. You are more layered, more experienced, more attuned. And in this chapter, closeness can become less about technique and more about connection. So the first step in reclaiming joy is this: stop waging war on your body. Instead, listen to it, nourish it, laugh with it, bring it into the light. Speak to it like an old friend who's carried you through everything: grief, birth, loss, love. What's normal is change. What's beautiful is the courage to keep loving through it. And what might surprise you next is how these shifts, once embraced, can open the door to a kind of intimacy that is softer, slower, and more soulfully satisfying than ever before. There's an invisible weight that many older adults carry, a bundle of beliefs, whispered warnings, and outdated advice that quietly shape how they think about sex after 60. Much of it is rooted in silence: the silence of doctors who don't ask, the silence of families who don't want to know, and the silence we sometimes impose on ourselves out of fear or shame. But silence, left unchecked, becomes misinformation. One of the most dangerous myths is that sexuality fades or becomes irrelevant in later life. The idea that sex is for the young, or that older bodies no longer need or deserve pleasure, is not only untrue, it's deeply harmful. Studies cited by the National Institute on Aging and Harvard Health consistently show that many adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond remain sexually active and interested. What changes isn't the desire, but how it expresses itself. And yet, because of this myth, countless seniors quietly retreat from intimacy, believing it's inappropriate or embarrassing to want. Another pervasive myth is that sex becomes medically risky with age, especially after heart conditions or surgery. While certain precautions are wise, the American Heart Association affirms that for most seniors, sexual activity is no more physically demanding than climbing 2 flights of stairs. Still, many avoid the conversation altogether, fearing they'll be told to stop. In reality, what's often needed isn't abstinence, it's adaptation and awareness. And then there's the often overlooked topic of STIs. Many assume this is a young person's issue, but the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reports that rates of sexually transmitted infections among adults over 60 are rising steadily. Why? Because few in this age group are routinely screened. Condoms may feel like a relic of the past. Discussions about sexual history are rare, and yet without these basic safety steps, vulnerability increases. Avoiding medical conversations out of embarrassment is another common misstep. Many seniors are hesitant to speak with their doctor about sexual concerns, whether it's dryness, dysfunction, or changing desires. But as Mayo Clinic emphasizes, these are not fringe topics. They are part of whole person care. And when ignored, they can lead to preventable suffering, both physical and emotional. So here's what to avoid. Avoid letting myths dictate your worth or desires. Avoid believing discomfort or dysfunction is just something you have to live with. Avoid assuming that a lack of conversation means your concerns don't matter. Avoid silence with your healthcare providers. Speak, ask, share. Because the truth is, the greatest threat to intimacy after 60 isn't age, it's avoidance. The kind that creeps in through misinformation, then anchors itself in fear. But knowledge, gentle, honest, evidence-based knowledge, can be the very thing that sets you free. In the next section, we'll explore something just as vital: how emotional connection, your sense of safety and belonging, can reignite desire in the most unexpected and healing ways. Before there is touch, there must be trust. Before the body can soften, the heart must feel safe. And as we grow older, the path to physical intimacy often begins not with desire, but with the slow, quiet rebuilding of emotional closeness. It's easy to forget this. In younger years, passion often ignites with little effort. But after 60, intimacy becomes something deeper. It is less about spark and more about sanctuary. And for many, the emotional distance that creeps in over time, whether in a long marriage, after a loss, or in a new relationship, can feel like the greatest barrier of all. Perhaps you've been with your partner for decades. You share a life, a home, a history. But somehow, the language of affection has grown quieter. Resentments may linger beneath the surface. Days pass filled with practicalities, but few glances, few lingering touches. Or perhaps you're newly alone, navigating grief or rediscovery. The thought of being close to someone again may stir hope, but also anxiety. How do you open your heart after heartbreak? How do you allow someone new to see you, fully, gently, truthfully? These questions matter, because emotional intimacy is the soil in which physical intimacy grows. Without it, touch can feel mechanical, or worse, hollow. But when two people feel emotionally seen and safe, even the smallest gesture, a held hand, a shared laugh, a quiet conversation in the dark, can feel like sacred communion. Rebuilding that closeness starts with something simple but profound: vulnerability. Talking openly about fears, about body image, about changes in desire. Listening, not to fix, but to understand. Saying things like, "I miss the way we used to hold each other." "Sometimes I'm afraid you don't find me attractive anymore. I want to feel close again, but I don't know how." It also means showing affection that isn't immediately sexual. Sitting close during a movie, touching someone's back as they pass, making eye contact and holding it. These gestures lay the emotional groundwork for deeper connection. The science supports this too. According to Harvard Health Publishing 2021, emotional closeness boosts levels of oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, which enhances not only feelings of trust and connection, but also improves immune function, lowers blood pressure, and reduces anxiety. Intimacy in all its forms is good for your health. And let's be honest, emotional intimacy takes courage, especially after years of silence or fear. But the rewards are immense because when you feel emotionally safe, the body follows. It lets go. It opens. It responds, not out of obligation or nostalgia, but out of a present, living sense of love. So whether you're looking to deepen a long-standing connection or build something new, remember this: the most passionate physical experiences are often rooted in something invisible but powerful, the feeling of being deeply known and loved anyway. And if you've ever felt like that kind of connection was behind you, take heart. What might surprise you next is how emotional intimacy, once gently nurtured, can spark not only closeness, but joy. For many seniors, the desire for closeness is still there, warm and flickering, but the path to pleasure has changed. What once felt effortless may now require patience, creativity, and support. But here's the truth that few say aloud: great sex after 60 is absolutely possible, and in many cases it becomes more emotionally fulfilling, more soulfully rich than ever before. It simply asks us to shift how we approach it. Let's start with the most immediate and solvable discomfort: vaginal dryness. For many women, especially after menopause, reduced estrogen can lead to thinning vaginal tissue, irritation, and pain during sex. But this isn't something to grit your teeth through or ignore. According to Mayo Clinic and Harvard Health, over-the-counter lubricants and moisturizers, especially water-based or silicone-based, can dramatically ease discomfort. For some, vaginal estrogen therapy, prescribed and monitored by a doctor, can restore elasticity and natural moisture. This is not about fixing anything. It's about supporting the body with the gentleness it deserves. For men, erectile changes are incredibly common with age. Erections may take longer, be less firm, or be more difficult to maintain. But again, this doesn't signal the end of intimacy. It simply invites a new rhythm. The National Institute on Aging reminds us that medications like sildenafil, Viagra, or tadalafil, Cialis, when prescribed safely, can help. But it's not just about pills. It's about redefining success. Pleasure and connection do not begin and end with penetration. Kissing, caressing, mutual touch, massage, these are not alternatives. They are often the main event. Positioning and mobility are also important considerations. Arthritis, joint stiffness, or limited flexibility can make certain movements uncomfortable. But with gentle experimentation, and perhaps the help of supportive pillows, furniture, or even physical therapy, comfort can return. AARP suggests trying different times of day when energy is higher, or engaging in light stretching or warm baths beforehand to ease tension. Then there's setting the mood, which many couples underestimate. Intimacy thrives in safe, relaxing environments. Dim lighting, soft music, warmth, privacy. These aren't luxuries. They're part of the emotional ritual that tells the body, you're safe, you're wanted, you can let go now. For some, slowing down the pace, devoting an evening to touch, conversation, and connection without rushing, transforms everything, because when we slow down, we tune in, to breath, to sensation, to each other. And finally, aftercare matters. Emotional reassurance, cuddling, talking, it keeps the door open. It says we're still here, we're still connected. Especially when trying something new or navigating a long pause in intimacy, checking in afterward is part of building safety and trust. There are no gold standards or universal solutions here. What works for one couple may not work for another. But there is a thread that runs through all these choices: presence. When both people show up with openness, kindness, and a willingness to adapt, even the most tender difficulties can be met with grace. You are not broken. You are not too old. Your body is not beyond pleasure. And what might begin as a challenge can become a doorway to rediscovering touch, laughter, and vulnerability in ways that feel completely new and beautifully, unmistakably alive. There's an intimacy more powerful than touch. It's the kind that happens in quiet conversations behind closed doors when two people dare to speak their truth, not with perfect words, but with open hearts. After 60, communication becomes not just a skill, but a lifeline for authentic connection, especially when it comes to sex. For many seniors, the words "I want," "I'm afraid," or "this doesn't feel good anymore" get caught in the throat. Perhaps you were raised in a time when these topics weren't discussed at all. Perhaps you've never said aloud what you truly need, or never been asked. Or maybe you've tried and been met with silence, misunderstanding, or even rejection. Over time, silence becomes habit. Distance becomes safer than honesty. But the truth is, your desires matter, your discomfort matters, and your voice still holds power. Communication doesn't mean having all the answers. It means creating a space where vulnerability is welcomed and not judged. It means saying, "I don't know where to start, but I want to feel close again." It means admitting when something hurts, when you feel insecure, or when you long for more affection. According to the Journal of Gerontological Nursing, older adults who communicate openly with their partners about sexuality report greater satisfaction, stronger emotional bonds, and lower rates of depression. Let's be clear, talking about sex after 60 can be awkward, especially if it hasn't been talked about in decades. But awkwardness is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that growth is happening. Try using gentle, affirming language. Start with, "I feel," instead of, "you never." Try asking open-ended questions like, "What makes you feel most connected lately? Is there anything you miss that we used to do? How can we make intimacy feel more comfortable or fun again? And remember, communication isn't only for couples. If you're single, widowed, or dating again later in life, the same principles apply. You have the right to speak your needs. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to ask for what feels good, not just physically, but emotionally. Especially in new relationships, these conversations are not just helpful, they are essential. And yes, talking to doctors is part of this too. If pain, medication side effects, or emotional struggles are interfering with intimacy, you deserve answers. You deserve care. A study from Harvard Health showed that when patients bring up sexual health, most physicians are relieved and willing to help. But they often wait for you to start the conversation. So speak. Advocate for yourself. Your wellness is worth it. Because when we talk, when we truly talk, we create connection before ever touching skin. We dissolve shame. We make room for laughter, for tears, for rediscovery. We give ourselves and our partners the greatest gift, the chance to be fully seen and still fully loved. So speak gently. Speak bravely. Speak often. What awaits may not just be better intimacy, but a more honest, tender, and beautiful relationship than you ever thought possible. Sex After 60 is not a closed chapter. It's a new story waiting to be written, one filled with tenderness, adaptation, and profound connection. Throughout this journey, we've uncovered 5 essential truths to guide and empower you. First, we explored how sexuality doesn't disappear with age. It evolves. Your body may change, but your capacity for desire, intimacy, and joy remains beautifully intact. Then we peeled back the layers of misinformation that challenging harmful myths and reminding you to avoid silence, shame, and outdated fears, especially when it comes to your safety and well-being. We moved into the heart of intimacy, the emotional space where trust, affection, and vulnerability give life to physical connection. It's there, in those quiet moments of being seen and accepted, that true closeness flourishes. And with practical tools like lubricants, comfortable positioning, gentle touch, and adapting your environment, we discovered that safe, satisfying sex is not only possible, it's wonderfully within reach. Finally, we emphasize that all of this rests on one key foundation: communication. Honest, kind, and open dialogue with your partner, with your doctor, is the bridge between uncertainty and understanding. So where can you begin? Start with one gentle action. Say something kind and honest to your partner today. Write down a question you've been afraid to ask your doctor. Reflect on what makes you feel desired, not just physically, but emotionally. You don't have to change everything at once. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to begin, because your story, your desire, your worth, your joy is still unfolding. And this season of life can be filled with a kind of closeness that heals, uplifts, and reminds you that love, in all its forms, is ageless. If you've listened this far, let me say something from the heart. You are not alone. You are not too late. And your capacity for love, connection, and joy has not expired with time. It has deepened. Sex and intimacy after 60 aren't about reliving youth. They're about reclaiming presence, learning how to love with wisdom, to touch with tenderness, to speak with truth. This is not the end of desire. It's the beginning of a more soulful, more honest kind of connection. So if something stirred in you today, a question, a memory, a quiet longing, I invite you not to push it away. Let it breathe. Let it guide you. Whether you're in a decades-long relationship or finding your way again after loss, this chapter holds its own kind of beauty, and you deserve to explore it with curiosity and courage. If this video offered comfort, clarity, or a sense of hope, would you consider sharing it with someone who might need it too? A partner, a friend, someone walking the same road? You never know the weight your kindness could lift. And if you'd like to join a community that speaks to your heart, gently, honestly, and without shame, please subscribe to Comfort Corner. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts or questions. We read everyone, and your voice matters here. I'm Michael from Comfort Corner, wishing you peace, health, and a heart full of hope.